G'day guys, this is Rob from Troutlore.com.au, Australia's fly tying specialist store. Well, we're coming to the end of October. There's rain about, there's caddis about, orange is the colour of the month, so we're tying my take on an October caddis. It's a caddis imitation with those wonderful deep orange hues that we expect to see this time of year. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, we're down here in the South, it doesn't matter, these still catch fish. So let's get tying. We are coming in with an Ahrex FW 530 hook here in a size 10. Then we're using some Veevus 6/0 thread in the brown colour. We're going to start a little behind the eye and then make touching wraps as we work our way down the hook shank, placing a nice even base to begin with. When we get to about the point, we're just going to trim off the excess and then we'll carry that thread through to about halfway between the hook point and the rear of the bend. Then we'll bring our thread back up to the center of the hook. Now we can come in with our tail material. For our tail, we're using Antron yarn in orange. We want this to have a pop of color on the water, and having that bright tail out the back is definitely going to do that. So we'll just trim that off, and at about the halfway mark on the hook shank, capture that thread, and then lifting the yarn lightly as we go, we'll start wrapping back down. By raising that up, it ensures that it sits on the top of the hook shank as we're tying it. And then we'll get down to that point of halfway between the eye and the bend, and then bring our thread back up again, so we don't undo any of that. As we do that, we create a nice thin dubbing noodle, and then we'll start wrapping down the hook shank to where that thread is. We're going to do one wrap behind the tail, and then we'll start coming back up, and we're just going to build a gentle taper as we go. We'll put some more dubbing wax on and a little extra dubbing. Remember, it's always easier to add more than it is to try and take it away. So start with less and keep building until you get to where you need to be. And just come back down and return back up just to get that taper the way we want it. One little bit more to bring it forward and just create a little bit of a ramp with thread dam, so to speak, with the dubbing that we're going to tie our wing up against. So from there, we'll just bring that down into a gentle taper at the front. Now we're going to preen these fibers up and just trim it out with our longer scissors. Lift the thread out of the way so we don't trim that out. That's always fun. Come around the side, just clean that up to give it a nice slim look to the body. I know the trend is to give it a nice buggy look these days, but in this case we want to thin this one right out. There we go. Once that's done, we can come in and trim our tail. We're just going to trim it to about the length of the hook point itself. From there, we can now come in and tie our wing. For that, we are using elk hair, in this case bull elk. Given that we're doing a larger size fly, the bull elk has a nice longer hair to it. So we're just going to take out a clump from that patch, trim that off nice and close, then grabbing the tips, we're just going to preen out the fluffy stuff at the rear, and then all of that goes into our dubbing stacker. From there, you can see it hasn't stacked too well. So we'll start again. Now that we've tapped that out, we can open up our hair stacker, and there we have beautifully aligned tips. Just pinch them down, change to the other hand, and you'll see it's just a couple that are broken. They are broken tips on those hairs, so you get that lighter color protruding out the end. So I'm just going to get in there, pull those guys out so that we end up with only dark tips on our wing. That one at the bottom looks a little dodged too. Once that's done, we go back into the stacker again and tap that down to clean them up. Okay. Second time's the charm. Out they come. Transfer to the other hand. We just want to measure this out so it's basically just shy of the length of the tail. Transfer back to the original hand. We go to our longer scissors and we're going to trim that off just short of the hook eye. Once that's done, we'll take our thread between, or our bobbin between our thumb and forefinger, and pushing our forefinger forward like that, we'll get that thread spinning. Let's put a reverse loop in it. That way you can see the thread wants to jump backwards, and then we put a couple of loose wraps around those hairs as we lower them down and then lift up to cinch. We'll just wrap forward, grabbing those butt ends as we go, keeping the rest of the hair firmly locked between our thumb and forefinger in our left hand for now. We'll just bind all of that down nice and tight, then lifting the wing up slightly, we'll just start wrapping backwards loosely, come forward and go tight. Now we'll let that go. See how our wings come out. There's one or two flyaways in there. They need to go. Otherwise it looks pretty good. What we're going to do is wrap over, lift the wing up, come underneath the wing, and this will show you how. This will show you how we get a nice, even, confined wing. Now that our thread is between the wing and the hook, we can then wrap over again, and that's bound all those hairs together and keep them nice and close. And bring our thread back down to towards the eye and put a little bit more pressure on to lock that off, and then just pluck out a couple of those fuzzies that are in there. Now we need to hackle the front. We're going to put a possum dub base on there, but before we put that in, we will tie in the hackle to start wrapping. Using hackle from our dry fly hackle pack, we've taken one of these barred ginger ones. We are going to, with our thumb and forefinger of our right hand, start stripping out the fibres on the right hand side when you're looking at the hackle top down. So as we strip this away, it opens up, exposes the central stem, and that's what we're going to be wrapping onto the hook. So we don't want those other fibres folding under and flaring out. This way we get a nice clean wrap onto the stem, and the fibres that do wrap will sit perpendicular if tied in correctly. So we just work our way up, making sure that we've cleaned off more than enough from where we're going to tie. We don't want to get halfway through the wrapping process and realise we haven't gone far enough up. So I'll always do a little extra. It just saves time on the next one. Essentially, we'll strip this whole feather as we work through 3 or 4 flies. But for now, that should do it. Then we're coming into the near side, and we're just going to preen down a bunch of those fibres and peel off about 1/4 inch. That's where we're going to tie in. We want to stop our thread just before the first fibre comes off so that we're not pinching that when we start wrapping. And we need to align it so that that stem is facing inwards as it's tied on. So we'll capture that against the body, then a bit more pressure to lock that in place. That's there ready to wrap. Now we just need to fix up the base that we're going to wrap onto, and for that, a little extra possum dub. Bit of dubbing wax to get us started. And again, we just want to go with the smallest amount, and we can keep adding it as we need it. So, very small amount to create a nice fine dubbing noodle. We don't want it all scruffy. We want to create a nice smooth base to wrap our hackle onto. So from there, we're going to start wrapping back up the hook shank towards the rear of those threads. I'm going to cover that last thread, and then we'll start wrapping forward, making sure that that noodle stays nice and fine. Wrap that back down to the eye. Just extend that dubbing down the thread a little bit. There we go. And we'll finish at the eye of the hook. A couple of loose wraps. Here, we are just going to pop a 1/2 hitch around the eye of the hook, so that can't come undone. That way we know we can always return back to this point if something goes wrong in the hackling process. Before we do that, again, because we're not after a really scruffy look, we want a nice smooth surface to wrap our hackle onto. I'm just going to come through and trim out that dubbing, smooth it out nicely, and grab that little hair that is sticking out where we don't want it, and we're going to trim him off too. Here we go. Now we are ready to wrap our hackle. We just need to make sure that it folds over so that the fibres are facing perpendicular to the hook shank, just like that. It's a beautiful thing when they align. And now we can make just about touching wraps all the way down until we're almost at the eye of the hook. Gives you that really heavy hackle that's going to float for days with or without floating. And when we get close, you've got to remember that there's a bit of a drop off on the edge there where the deer hair, or rather elk hair, ended. So we don't want to go all the way to the eye. That's close enough. We'll put a wrap behind the hackle, a wrap in front of the hackle, another wrap, and another wrap behind to secure that. One more in front, and then grabbing our bodkin, just pop a half hitch in there to lock that off. Then we can come in putting pressure on the hackle and creating a V in our scissors. We push the scissors in against the hackle, that snips it off. But we do have a couple of strays that have got caught in the thread, so we're going to come in, trim them out, and then we'll do some thread wraps from the eye running back just to clean those little tag ends up. There we go. Extend the thread, out comes the whip finisher, and a couple of 2 or 3 turn whip finishes to lock that into place. Just like so. Grab that little fibre that was caught. Again, tension on the thread, just like we did with the hackle. A V in the scissors, push it in. It'll only cut the thread, it won't cut any of those loose hackle fibres. Once that's done, we're just going to take a little drop of head cement on our bodkin and run that in on the edge just to seal that thread off going from the side so that we don't fill the eye of the hook up. So there you go. That's my take on an October caddis. It's a little bit naked stimulator, it's a little bit sofa pillow, it's a hell of a lot of a fish catching fly. It floats like no tomorrow, and it's got the buoyancy to hold up a nice big nymph, so you can fish it as a dry dropper all day long, and you've got a pretty good chance that it's going to get hit as many times as the nymph. As always, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so you see more and more of our stuff coming up in the future. All the materials for this can be found down there in the description as always. And of course, one more thing, happy tying.